stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Aaron?
Present.
Lana?
Here.
Rob?
Here.
Dan? Al?
Here.
Angie? Perry's here.
Here.
Tony is on his way, he's running a little bit late, and Dee is out of town. Angie's here, I'm here, so we're all good to go. All right, consent agenda, approval of the agenda, approval of the minutes, and approval of the bills. We have a separate building permit to approve, so. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Aaron, you made the. All right, is there any discussion on that? Okay. With that, all in favor? Approved. We have one building permit from Ron Walcott to put up a steel carport. It's an enclosed building with a roll-up door. It's roughly about 18 feet by 12 feet wide, 18 feet long, 7 feet high. For the door is 7 feet high. It's a little, almost 9 feet at the peak. You put it down on, once you put it down on packed 3/8 minus rock, and then we will put anchors in to hold it in place. Estimated beginning date was Friday, completion date the 30th of October. It's been signed by, obviously, Ron, Director of the Utilities, Tony, and the Building Inspector, Al Rolfe. I don't know if people are familiar with it, but that's the type of building he put up. Okay. So, need a motion to
Move to approve.
accept that.
Second.
And so, there's no discussion, I'm assuming. So, all in favor? Approved. Treasurer's report, she is out, so there will be a treasurer's report. Council's comments. We'll start with Al.
I got a question about the letter that was sent out in regards to the meters,
In regards to what?
the meters,
Okay.
removal of the meters.
Yep.
I heard, from several different people, even our banker, the letter's a little bit rough. And then I heard from others that that wasn't the letter that was constructed. So I'm just kinda curious why we have had two letters circulating.
There was a mix-up in communication. I had forwarded letters that I wanted to send out, and for whatever reason, there was a mix-up in communication, so a separate letter was sent out instead.
Okay, so did the right letter ever get sent out?
No,
The meter
I looked at it as, we send out one letter, people are already confused, now we send them another letter, they're really confused. And so I would rather they come forward, ask questions, and we can straighten it out that way, rather than send them out something that's more confusing to them. So that was my judgment call.
The meter was in the vacant building or abandoned building letter, and that's the one I did use yours.
Anyway, it was a mistake. It won't happen again, we hope. I apologize for it. Just one of those things that got by us, so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of confusion.
I had already apologized to the banker on that, and a couple other people had approached me, and I apologized for the mix-up in communications and the,
How many
you know,
people really asked
it was
you?
abrupt language, what's that?
How many people really asked you
I
other
don't
than
know, I
Matt?
didn't keep track, actually, I didn't talk to Matt about it. Bear asked me, the banker,
I mean,
a couple people, and then I talked to.
I've had a lot of people ask me about it.
Anyway,
And directed it towards Tony.
moving on.
One is more than enough, don't you agree? Or
Definitely.
does it matter who it is?
I do agree with you.
Okay, well, moving ahead, is there anything else, Al?
No, I think as long as we take care of the communication and we all agree that one person matters and not certain people, we're fine.
Okay, anything else? Nothing else?
No.
Rob?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Aaron?
So I want to thank my fellow council members who appointed me last month, thank the mayor, thank all the citizens who actually welcomed me, whether you saw me walking and stopped me, or saw me driving down the street and flagged me. So I'm glad to be here, and we're going to make a lot of work get done.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Dan, nothing? Lana? All right. All right, city clerk's comments.
I sent you all the draft of the last audit, so Lana's replied back with me, so y'all just wanna give me a response back, so we can get that finalized. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay. Mayor's comments. Stuck here. All right. First off, everybody's noticed the bank now has a new brick facade on the north side, looks super. I went over and complimented Brian on it. There's still work to be done over there on the lots themselves. Kinda anxious to see what comes about. If anybody has a chance to go over and tell Brian it looks great. I think it's just a good symbol for the city, and I hope everybody agrees with that. School starts late next week. School buses will be running again, so please be vigilant. We all know kids, sometimes they don't think before they act, and we don't want any accidents. We don't want anybody hurt. We want them to go and enjoy the whole year of school. We'll only have a dozen more, so we'll have a lot of fun there. Probably everybody's seen the notice on bulletin boards for the pool closure, closes at the end of this month. Tomorrow night is a pool meeting for the folks that are on the committee, and so I'm hoping that we get some good feedback out of that. Find out what needs to be done, what we can do, and hopefully maybe have this thing open again next year. See here. We have down up at the truck parking, we have an old green colored tin building. That thing is rotten on the inside. It sits on city property. I've talked to the railroad. They have a few things in there they want to retrieve. I've talked to Al Brandboy, asked him for an estimate to get rid of it. I'm waiting on a firm number for that, but I would like the council to consider funding the removal of that thing. It's just an eyesore. And the floor is all rotten, the inside's rotten, it's got just junk in it. Been like that for years. Railroad certainly doesn't want to store their stuff there. So I'd like you to consider that. Also, there are old concrete pilings from a similar structure that are closer to the brush pile. They've been sitting there for years. We have a lot of volunteer trees growing up through them and all that. I also asked Al for a estimate on taking those concrete pillars out of there. And so I'll wait for something formal on that. But I would like the council to consider the possibility of taking care of that, getting all that cleaned up down there. Make it look a lot nicer. We've already kind of talked about the curb stop, and then, well, actually, we haven't talked about the curb stop. Curb stop letters and the vacancy letters went out, and there was some confusion, and again, I apologize for the clarity on those. Anyway, the curb stop issue is one that we've been wrestling with for a long time. Homeowners may not be aware that they are responsible for the cost of and the maintenance of anything that goes from the city main to their property. We're trying to minimize that by asking people if we cannot find their their curb stop, that they give us access to their house so we can do a continuity check. Basically put a probe on the inside valve and go out and check and see where the lines are and possibly find that so we can save them some money. We also have people that they know where their curb stops are, but the shaft that goes down that you turn is full of dirt and won't allow the shaft to turn. We also need, we're going to be looking at doing that. That's not going to be, in my mind, I don't think that should be a cost to the homeowner to clear that dirt out of there. We have basically that vacuum, and we can take care of that. If none of those things work, and we will have to replace the curb stop or fix the curb stop, and that will be a cost to the property owners. Asbestos abatement, I talked to the company. They had earlier, this company from Algona Site Services, they're gonna be doing the asbestos abatement at the old gym complex. They indicated they would probably be down here by mid-month. I called them again today, wanted to know if they had an update, and I have not heard back from them. They kind of indicated that it would be more towards the end of the month, but they wanted to check with the guy actually doing the work, so I'm waiting on that information. Tomorrow, we have a meeting with DNR to talk about the brush pile. There's a possibility that the disaster declaration that was done for the storms earlier this summer, we might be able to tag on to that and get rid of that brush pile down there. We'll have the meeting on site to determine what our parameters are, how much they will allow, and from what we gather from them, it has to be done before the end of this month. So I have the fire department that'll be here, and then DNR, and we'll talk through everything and see what needs to go, what doesn't go. Let's see. On Wednesday, there's a meeting here with DOT. They're gonna go down the sidewalks. We're gonna do basically a walking survey of what actually needs to be done. When they put the contract together for bid, they didn't put a lot of detail in, and the contractor called them on it. So we'll be here trying to nail down all the specifics on exactly where the ADA ramps will go, how high the curbs will be, even working with the bank to determine when it'll be in work so that they can find an alternate route into the bank for people to do business. So hopefully we'll have all that hashed out on Wednesday. I think that's it. So, I'm done talking there. Utility reports. Anything to report?
No,
No problems?
okay,
You sure?
think so.
Okay. All right. Citizens' comments. I think I saw one over there. I'm not sure if we have more.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you guys have been over behind the bank where our tin recycling is, but it's been overflowing for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. Are they supposed to be stopping on Thursdays to check that out, or what?
We'll get a hold of them.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, complaint form. We have one. On this computer.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
All right. Get down to it here so I can read it. It's from Karen Johnson. And 808 Elm Street is the problem area. Says burning in the back, diapers, cans, and stuff I won't burn. I wouldn't burn, something like that. It was pretty foul smelling, I understand. Did we already make any kind of a letter or anything like that up on that?
I sent them a letter
All right.
that we send out, and it's in Hispanic family, so I translated it into Spanish, so
Okay.
understand it.
All right. We'll wait and see what comes into play. All right. No unfinished business, new business, sheriff's report.
Nothing news for me. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you had your incident last month with the individual that was in the high-speed chase and then you were searching for him,
Which one?
The recent one?
The recent one?
the most recent? No, the older one, the older one where Pocahontas Police Department sent out or put on their Facebook that this guy was armed and dangerous and go to your homes and lock your doors. Why was there no type of notification or alert sent out? I mean, we've got the great alert system, that will send an email or text to our phones saying, hey, we got an emergency.
Yeah, Jim was asking the same thing. The second one happened, we put out, and I didn't get it myself. And I know I'm signed up for it, so there's a problem somewhere, we gotta get it fixed. I'm not sure what the problem is yet. If it's a glitch in the system, or it's operator error, we got some new dispatches or what. But, apologize for not getting out. It was attempted to be put out, and the system failed.
All right, that's good to know, because I even had a farmer that lives in the search area you were in that didn't know about it till the next morning, and
Right, yep.
so thank you for the
Yeah,
clarification.
I should have got a warning too. Like I said, I know I'm signed up for it and everything should be good, but I didn't get it either, so. Something's wrong, we haven't got it figured out.
Thank you for the clarification.
A lot of it goes through CenturyLink and you're gonna call them your telephone system and we're working on it.
Okay. Nothing else?
Nope.
All right, next item is, Ruth Agel is here to,
No, she called and took herself off the
she took
agenda,
herself off?
and, she's gonna be on next month's.
Okay. Since I brought it up, last storm, big tree in her backyard blew down, and, she was looking for, guidance on taking that residue out of there, and the trunk is all rotten on the tree, so we'll be working on that. Next item up is the radar signs. I'm assuming these are the trailers that we have.
Yeah, I asked her to get that done. Where are they, what's the status, can we, I'm just,
The trailers are still over here, right? In the building here next to their office. The signs themselves, the radar units themselves are down at the, I don't know if you call it the old industrial arts building, where they keep stuff down there at the school complex. And we just have not got around to putting them together and putting them out.
after I got appointed, I went back and I read all the minutes going back to at least 2019, and I noticed that county was one of the people who sort of chased that all along the way, so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna get it on my list and we'll continue chasing to see if we can get
The
those
whole
out.
thing, languished for quite a bit of time. The parts were cut, the metal was purchased, the parts were cut, and the other parts were received. It all sat over at the welding shop, the machine shop in Pocahontas. And our previous mayor was supposed to push that whole thing forward, and then he ended up getting sick, and we ended up with a new council. And so I went over and talked to him, and I said, "Let's get the things done and build the city, because we've already promised you the work," and they did. Put them together, we had them painted, and we just haven't deployed them.
So basically, next step then is figure out where we wanna deploy them?
Say again?
Next step would be to decide where we want to deploy them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things that we just haven't addressed it, so our bad. So do you know, is there anything else that you wanna, or you're just curious about all that?
I was just curious about that, and I didn't want it to simply slip through the cracks, since that was something Connie sort of chased, and I saw from the minutes, so.
We could discuss, more of what we intend to do, offline and stuff. We don't need to take people's times. All right, next item up is the energy efficiency water rebate for water heater. That's at Melissa Gardeline, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, Gardeline down here, and it's $400. So,
$50.
I'm sorry,
It's $50.
I misspoke, I'm sorry. Anyway, do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
I'll second.
There should be no discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item up is ordinance, proposed chapter 151 changes, and that would be for trees in town. And basically, there would be a modification of the existing chapter 151. This would be 151.02, planning restrictions. Quickly read it. To preclude potential damage to city utilities, the following applies. Notification shall be made to the statewide notification center, 811, to provide notice of the planned excavation prior to planting any tree or any shrub. That's Code of Iowa requirement, section 380.04. Item number 2, no tree or shrub shall be planted by property owners or residents in any parking or street within the city's corporate boundary. That's basically public property. The parking is considered between the sidewalk and the curb, and obviously street takes in that part of the public property that is either a street or an alley. All right, number 3, existing trees and shrubs within the parking or street shall be allowed to remain unless found, that's a typo, found by the city council to be unhealthy diseased, or substantially weather damaged, located where any overhead utility, electric, cable, telephone lines are present, located within 25 feet of any stormwater utility intake or drainage tile. Lastly, where location interferes with underground communications, the cable, telephone, fiber optics, the electric or city natural gas, sanitary sewer, water service, or stormwater utilities. Item number 4, public parks and green spaces and private property. Trees shall be planted in accordance with the following: no closer than 30 feet from the street intersections. This is with the property lines extended. Within 10 feet, outside 10 feet from driveways, and outside 10 feet inside property lines. Also, no closer than half the distance of the mature height of a tree, the particular tree, to any overhead electrical line. No closer than 1/4 of the mature height of the tree to any underground electric or city natural gas line. And finally, no fruit, nut, or seed pod bearing trees within 20 feet of any public sidewalk, street, or alley. I don't know how many people have stepped on a walnut or acorn, or even the crabapple tree droppings, but it gets to be like roller skates out there. Last item is prohibited trees and shrubs. Any commonly known as cottonwood, box elder, or Chinese elm, or any species known to be invasive or of a nuisance. Severability clause of any section, provision, or part of this ordinance shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional. Such adjudication shall not affect the validity of the ordinance as a whole, or any section, provision, or part thereof not adjudged invalid or unconstitutional. When effective, the ordinance shall be in effect from and after its final passage, approval, and publication as provided by law. So this is the first reading. So what I need is a motion to approve the first reading. Actually, I'll ask, are there any questions about the content? No questions,
All right.
okay.
I actually have a question in specifics to paragraph 3, the existing trees and shrubs.
Yeah,
Item B, located where any overhead utility, electric, cable, telephone lines are present.
yeah,
Alliant is currently working on moving the power lines underground, correct?
Yes.
There are sections like down on Elm Street where they've already done this. Have they had any problems moving stuff underground because of the existing trees in the parkings that we are aware of?
the only problems that I'm aware of when they were putting in the underground lines is that some of the mapping that we have for our utilities is not exactly accurate. So we did drill through a main, 8-inch main, water main. There's been some other creasing of some water service lines. There's been a couple other things. I can't tell you exactly what all. They've been working closely with the city guys, but so the biggest problem was our mapping was just not totally accurate.
So in those spots didn't really have anything to do with any existing trees or bushes that are there, some of which have been there for decades, some hundreds of years. They're obviously not causing an issue with other city items, otherwise we would have had them removed already, correct?
One of the things that led us to this was we have a drainage district issue down across from the ballpark, or down in that area. The folks that are heading up that study have told us that it's a really good idea to not have any trees planted in the area where you run your utilities. So
Right.
with that, we want to, I don't want to take out everything, but we need to obviously take the damaged stuff out and just not replant anything there that would cause future damage.
I totally understand that, yeah. But in areas where there are existing trees that are not a problem, they're not damaged, they're not dying,
They stay.
they stay.
Yeah.
So if they stay, we really don't need this line B for the existing trees, that it would be located anywhere overhead utility, electric cable, telephone lines are present. Us here are here today, and we know that we don't wanna take those out. That doesn't mean that a year from now, we don't have a whole new group of people in here, and yes, they could change the ordinance down the line,
Well,
but
let me go back to the heading on this particular chapter. This is planting restrictions.
correct, but in particular,
So really it refers to any new trees.
no, actually, paragraph 3 is existing trees and shrubs. Item B is under that one.
Yeah. What we're trying to say here is, we're not gonna make you take out an existing tree if it's in good health. We'll let it live its natural course, and then when it comes time to take it out, we just won't put anything back in its place. So perhaps the wording isn't clear.
So with the wording not being clear, I would move to amend the proposed ordinance modification, paragraph 3, by striking subsection B, and we can revisit it another time down the road if we felt that it needed to be.
Okay, so what you're saying is,
Take out-
take out paragraph B there.
Yep.
Okay. And then renumber, or re-letter the last two.
Correct.
Okay. Well, you make a motion to do that?
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
I made a motion.
So,
I agree with you.
you second it, Dan?
Dan,
All
second.
right. So, present a good case there, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll amend the resolution by striking paragraph B, 3B. Thank you.
So since we amended that, are we able to do any sort of even voting on it or passing on it or
We can still,
with that amendment? made?
so,
Yeah.
what I need is a motion to approve the first reading, considering the rewording of the resolution. So do I have a motion to approve?
I so moved.
I'll second.
All right, I need a roll call vote. Lana,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Rob?
Yep.
Al? Dan?
Yep.
Okay, all ayes. So the first reading is approved. All right, next item up, we've had an offer, written offer from Bennett's to purchase our old solid waste truck, garbage truck, so they have offered $7,000 for it. I talked with Tony, he's okay with the price on it, so.
Sure wants us to keep it.
Nothing more to say, I guess, there, we have this bid, so I,
Do we have to approve it or is it just
Well-
okay to do it?
what's that?
Do we have to approve it or is it just yes?
No, we have to approve the sale of it. So do I have a motion to approve the
Move
sale?
that we sell it for $7,000.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the sale, we have a second, any discussion? All in favor?
There's
I have a
questions.
question for you on that. What are we doing to bring the dumpsters that you currently have?
The second here, let me finish this business here.
Well, you need the dump truck to use that to dump them, the ones you currently own. I have one in my building. So if you get rid of the dump truck, how you get rid of the trash that's in the dumpster?
You don't have one from
Bennett
Bennett's?
Bennett can dump the old,
I have a city one.
Bennett can dump the old city green dumpsters.
Right.
Okay, does that answer your question? have, I guess I'll ask once again, just to make sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved. Garbage ordinance, or, solid waste. This is an ordinance amending the municipal code of Rolfe, chapters 105 for solid waste control and chapter 106 for collection of solid waste to include the following. So let me read this here. New provisions. Code of Ordinances for the City of Rolfe is amended by adding new provision for chapter 105.02 by adding the following. Item 14F. Material that is legitimately recycled pursuant to section 455D4A of the Code of Iowa. Post-use polymers or recoverable feedstocks that are any of the following. Processed at a pyrolysis or a gasification facility or held at those facilities prior to processing to ensure production is not interpreted. And also to add item 15, toxic and hazardous waste means waste materials including but not limited to poisons, pesticides, herbicides, acids, caustics, pathological waste, flammable or explosive materials or similar harmful waste that require special handling, and that must be disposed of in such a manner as to conserve the environment and protect the public health and safety. That comes about by change in Iowa Administrative Code 100.2, actually 567 100.2. All right. Section 2, there will be a change to the open burning restrictions. Item 10506, excuse me, 10505.6, residential waste, that requirement, that restriction has been removed. I'm assuming that means no open burning of residential waste. 10505.8, pesticide containers and seed corn bags to read as follows. And of course it'll be renumbered. Paper or plastic pesticide containers or seed corn bags resulting from farming activities occurring on the premises if burned in accordance with the rules established by the State Department of Natural Resources. Section 3, they will amend 105.10, waste storage containers. The change reads, container specifications, waste storage containers shall comply with the following specifications. A, city-approved carts. Waste shall be disposed of in a city-approved cart. Each single family present or multifamily dwelling unit housing 3 or more persons shall be provided a city-approved 96-gallon cart. Each commercial premise shall be provided with the same size cart. Item B, dumpsters. Every person owning, managing, operating, leasing, or renting any premises where an excessive amount of refuse accumulates and where its storage in the city-approved carts as required above is impractical, shall maintain a metal bulk storage container approved by the city. And now we go to 106. 10601, collection service, to read as follows. The city shall provide by contract for the collection of all solid waste except bulky rubbish as provided in section 10605 within the city. New provision 10607 to read as follows. No person shall engage in the business of collecting, transporting, processing, or disposing of solid waste for the city without first entering into a contract with the city. This section does not prohibit an owner from transporting solid waste accumulated upon premises owned, occupied, or used by such owner, provided such refuse is disposed of properly in an approved sanitary disposal project. Furthermore, a contract is not required for the removal, hauling, or disposal of earth and rock material from grading or excavation activities, provided that all such materials are conveyed in tight vehicles, trucks, receptacles, so constructed and maintained that none of the material being transported is spilled onto the public right of way. 10607 will be renumbered to 10608 to read as following. The collection and disposal of solid waste as provided by the chapter are declared to be beneficial to the property served or eligible to be served, and there shall be levied and collected fees therefore in accordance with the following. The schedule of fees has been changed. For residential and commercial premises, the 96-gallon cart is $25 a month. For rural customers, $25. For medium commercial, also $25. Dumpsters, for the 1.5 yard dumpster, $98 plus tax. 2 yard dumpster, $125 plus tax. 4 yard dumpster, $250 plus tax. There is a minimum $12 there is a $12 minimum charge regardless of usage. Item C, extra fee waste removal. Appliance tag is $25, solid waste tag is $10, and an electronic waste tag, computers, TVs, stuff like that, $25. All extra fee charges shall be paid in advance of the scheduled pickup. We move to 109 will be renumbered to 110, solid waste collection to be read as followed. Residential collection, normal residential waste shall be that amount which can be placed under the lid of a special 96-gallon cart, and it must be able to be securely latched for the base fee. Anything over that, I'm assuming, is extra. Item 2, residential collections. Residential solid waste shall be placed at the curb by 7 a.m. on collection day. Standard repealer, the standard severability clause applies. When effective, after its final passage and approval, and publication is provided by law. So for the first reading, I need a motion to approve the ordinance changes.
So moved.
Lana?
Second.
Aaron, seconds. Do I have any discussion on that? Okay, then I need a,
Bill's got his hand up.
what's that?
Bill's got his hand up.
Well, the questions are basically for the council.
Right, never mind.
But,
It's not
Okay.
a discussion.
then, if there's no questions from the council, then I need a roll call vote on that. Aaron?
Yay.
Lana?
Yes.
Al? Rob?
Aye.
Dan? That was the first reading, okay. Next item up is the street report resolution. I did find one typo on the street report. The chipper is a little bit less costly than $2,200,000, so that was fixed, I'm sure.
Yeah, it doesn't let you put cents in, you have to round up. So,
Anyway, this is resolution number
735.
735.
Yep.
Resolution 735, Rolfe City Council of Rolfe, Iowa met in regular session at City Hall on August 12th. And be it resolved, the City Council approved the fiscal year 2023/2024 City Street Financial Report as presented by the City Clerk as the official financial report of the City of Rolfe for the period of 1 July 2023 to June 30th, 2024. So I need a motion to approve the resolution. No?
I'll second.
So we need a roll call vote on that. Aaron?
Yay.
Lamon?
Yes.
Al? Rob? Dan? 5 ayes. Next item up is the annual financial report. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the financial report? All right. Do we also do a resolution on this as well?
No, no.
Okay, so this is just regular, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
So, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Brush pile. Everybody's seen that we have the brush pile down there. I talked a little bit earlier about the possibility of DNR giving us permission to burn down there. We have a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. At that time, we'll find out how much content they will allow us. We're also working some alternate possibilities on taking care of all of the stuff down there. We have been in contact with one local landowner, and we've just been doing some basic discussion, no promises, that we would, with the council's approval, and we won't be voting on it tonight, but with the council's approval, that we will enter into an annual agreement. There will be an annual fee. We haven't nailed down that fee yet. Just for argument's sake, we'll say $2,000 a year. That will allow us to take anything that we have that we cannot handle down here with our chipper and transport it at our cost out to that site. That site will remain locked. It will only be available to city folks or contractors that have worked an issue with that person, that landowner. And it will cost us to transport it out there. Once it's transported and placed, then our responsibilities are over with. Now, we still gotta run this by DNR to see if they're okay with that too. And obviously with our attorney to come up with an agreement that covers all of the whys and wherefores, but that might be an answer to get rid of a lot of our big stuff, such as the big tree trunks that are too big to grind. Our chipper will only handle things up to 6 inches, so there's gonna be a number of things. We can handle, small branches, we can handle leaves on the branches, things like that, but the logs and large branches, we won't be able to do anything but transport them. So that should be a solution to help us maintain that. Going forward, we won't be taking anything from the trees that are coming down on Garfield Street to the brush pile. The contractor will be taking those directly to a site out of the city to dispose of all that. That's part of his contract. When we get to the point of securing our general obligation bond, it is possible to include on there taking down trees on public property that are damaged, essentially the integral dashboard issue. There are, I'm just guessing, around 160 trees, not counting what's out at the golf course. It's all on public land, and when we go forward with that and to get a contract on that, I believe that it's in our best interest to ask the contractor to do the same thing. Remove the trees, take them away, we don't want to deal with the residue. The only residue that we should want to have to deal with going down the road is property owners here in town that take down a tree because of damage or whatever, and dealing with that. So it should reduce the intake quite a bit. Also down there, we would like to organize it, clean it up more, and then make it a place where we can sequester the gravel and the sand and things like that that we use for the city. We currently have it up behind the school. We want to put it down there. And then we've got plenty of room to put the dirt from the Highway 15 work that's gonna come. They told us roughly 600 truckloads of filled dirt, gravel mixture. And we can use that to backfill the school, and then we can, if there's any extra, we can find uses for that, or we can outright sell it. Those things all have to be nailed down yet, but that's the plan going forward, at least as I envision it. And I would certainly encourage feedback from any of the council members on where we need to go with this, and what we should be looking at, and any suggestions on it. You know, hey, you might have overlooked this or that. You want to take a look at this too, so we can get that nailed down. But I wanted to bring it to your attention that we're working a whole bunch of different angles to try to solve this problem down there. So are there any questions or thing that I can answer at this moment on that? Yes,
Who is the contractor for the trees?
which, you're talking about the ones on Main Street here?
Well, I know that's the DNR, right, or whatever. No? Who is the contractor that's cutting the trees down? You're saying a
Okay,
contractor.
there's gonna be several different projects you have to differentiate. Are you talking about Garfield Street? You're talking about the rest of the town?
The rest of the town?
The rest of the town, we haven't got to that point yet.
Oh,
When we get the approval and we know what the ballpark cost is gonna be, then we will issue a
proposals,
request for proposals from the contractors out there.
okay.
And that all has to be worked out because we have to get our city attorney involved in writing a contract and so on and so forth. So that's all down the road. But we plan to try to address all these dead and dying ash trees so that we don't have the danger of, if a tree dies, within about 3 years, it turns brittle and it starts falling down like we had up by the ballpark earlier this year. Could damage somebody, could damage their vehicles. We don't want that, so we want to try and mitigate that by being proactive.
And my 2 cents I will add. If you have a dead or dying tree on your property and it falls on someone else's property and causes damage, you're gonna see a bill for it, because the tree was on your property. So if it takes somebody's utility wires down and causes a lack of electricity, it falls on somebody's vehicle, their fence, their home, whatever, if that dying, diseased, whatever tree, you're going to get held responsible. So keep that in mind.
If the city doesn't take down a tree that's between the curb and the sidewalk and it hits somebody's house, the city's gonna be responsible.
That's right. That's why the city is accepting we have to do something about the trees that are on the city property. But residents will have to be responsible of those on your property too.
So anyway, we're trying to be as proactive as possible.
How do you work the issue of property lines? Because in Rolfe, we have ash trees on property lines. They are the property line.
Well, it would be a joint responsibility.
So if I've got people that can't even hardly pay their bills, and you've got 2 ash trees sitting on the property line, Then what do we do?
There are methods for collecting those funds.
Because I've got two of them that I'm really worried about, it will take out the electrical.
We're trying to get to the point where we get them down as soon as possible. That's the best I can do until we get more detail from our bond attorney and we can move forward to getting a contract. I'm hoping that sometime this winter, we will be able to address all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, there's nothing else on that. The old Toro mower, originally we had got it approved by the council to take it over to the sale barn. We had Perry and Tony look at it a little bit closer, and it's basically toast. It's not worth anything. Leaks oil all over the place, won't start. It's just not worth our effort. There's also a deck for that mower over in the city shed, and so being that we're not gonna be taking it to the sale barn, need to talk about just having it scrapped. We have several people around that can scrap that. So, do I have a motion to go ahead and not take it to the sale barn, but go ahead and scrap it?
I move that we, take it to the sale barn and let's scrap it someplace where it don't end up right back in town.
Yep, I agree. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And we'll contact the scrapper to get it out of here. Make sure it doesn't get scrapped and not taken up to another state to be sold, try to be sold or whatever. Okay, next item up is a vacant house fee. As everybody knows, the vacant house ordinance was passed, and in that process, if a house is considered vacant, then it is to be registered with the city, and they're supposed to be put together, the owner needs to put together a plan to either get rid of it, make it habitable, sell it, something. But we've got too many properties here in town that just sit.
Ain't gonna happen. I bought property, it's mine. If I wanna leave it vacant, it'll stay vacant. And you're not gonna tell me to fix this place up and rent it to somebody.
What we're asking people to do
It's my
is,
house, it's my property, it's mine, and I wanna do what I want with that. You're trying to tell me, as you guys are being like a realtor, and telling me what I'm gonna do with my property. That's my home, that's my house. It's not yours, you didn't buy it, you don't pay the taxes on it. So why are you trying to tell me what I have to do with it?
we're trying to get rid of the blight in this town. We've got vacant houses that aren't being taken care of. They're basically being used as a holding place for junk. And it basically violates city code and.
So how would be, okay, so I have 203 Brent.
Yeah,
It is a vacant house. It's in my parents' name,
yeah.
okay? It's gonna be soon my name. But I'm not gonna fix that house up and rent it to some crackhead, just so I have somebody in here paying a utility bill. That's the reason I bought it, is I want to control who I live by.
I get that.
Okay, so you're telling me I have to fix it up to do something with it, or get rid of it?
You have to make it so that it's not a piece of blight. In other words, it's cared for, it's taken care of, it's maintained well, so that there is a purpose for it, a usage for it, besides.
So what am I registering to the city for? You have an address, it's in this town.
We set up a registry for vacant buildings because we have a lot of vacant buildings that nothing is being done with them. They're just the owners are allowing them to degrade to the point where they're gonna have to be taken down if they don't do something with them. We have a number of those in town. What we're trying to do is encourage, if you're not gonna use it, then make it available to somebody else or get rid of it.
I've already taken 2 down, personally, out of my own.
I get that. So we set up we adopted a ordinance to deal with vacant and abandoned properties. And in that process, there's a registry, we register that building and you come up with a plan.
The plan part is what I don't understand what your plan is. Plan for what?
That's following.
I mean, what are you asking of me as a homeowner, an owner of it? What do you want from me?
Well,
That's not.
Other than the same plan, what is it you're trying to get to?
let me get it here. All right. The period the property is expected to remain vacant is one of the questions. Please explain your plan and timetable for compliance with applicable city codes. In other words, to bring it into compliance. If it's already in compliance, then you don't have to answer it.
If it's, okay, that form that you sent out for us to
Yeah.
sign is giving up my core constitution of you being able to come into that house to inspect my place and tell me whether or not
Well, these
it's livable or not livable.
These ordinances are probably part of a good number of cities in this state. We basically adopted this similar language from another city who has that in place, and it's worked out really well. It's encouraged people to, if you're not gonna use it, put it up for sale, get rid of it, do something with it. It doesn't need to be a repository for junk. I'm not saying yours is.
What I'm worried about is this town getting into the reality of being a renter building and thinking that being it's a renter's building, the city has got the obligation to be able to come into my property if I start renting. And that's what it can do. And that's where I don't want it to go, that the city thinks it's obligated, it can go into the property whenever they feel like it because it's underneath the rental thing.
We are using city and state guidelines.
Well,
We're not making this up on our own. This is city and state guidelines.
Just write a check for $75,000 for each one of the vacant lots. You can do whatever you want with it.
This is not an open discussion meeting.
Actually, any public meeting is public discussion.
No,
because the residents can
I
talk.
thought we made this week, if you wanna talk, you come up here.
Yeah, I was gonna say you sign up.
no, and you have to be recognized, so sit down.
We're
not turning this into a
We're not
public.
turning this into an escapade. No, your little show is not gonna work tonight. We're following guidelines
I'm trying to
and
just
processes.
where does this top out at on the property thing? Because you're telling me what I'm gonna do with my piece of property. Then you're gonna, later on, gonna go in and say, well, now you're in the rental lane, because now I'm gonna rent it out to somebody, and then, oh, now we got the obligation to be able to come in. That's where I wanna draw a line.
I think you're stretching it way beyond what we're intending to do
It
here.
is by law, you guys as a city can go in and fall under the rental agreement that the city is able to go inspect. That's where I don't want the city.
Isn't this just
In
vacant?
my 4th Amendment, and I don't want anybody claiming my property. Okay?
We maintain.
That's something that's gonna have to end up going to the court then. Because we've laid out a process that's legal, and, you know, we will try to work with people as best we can.
I mean, I maintain my place. I try to keep it maintained.
I understand that. There's a lot of people that don't. And
Okay?
the intention is to get the people that don't to do something. You know, we have, you know, we just have a lot of people that just think that this is my property, I can do whatever I want on it. Well, that's not the way it is. There's realistic guidelines for people to follow. And it all deals with safety, health, and cleanliness. Okay? There's some people around here who, they don't mow, they don't clean anything up. They got animals living in their buildings. The buildings are ready to fall down, there's holes in them. And they have no intent to do anything at all. This is to try to make them understand, you need to bring it up to some standard here. Okay? Your issue might be a little bit different than everybody else's issue. We're trying to address the greater problem, not individual problems. Yes?
Okay. What you're saying that some of these buildings are filled with junk. I'm one of the people who has a house that is not being currently lived in, but I have my shop that used to be across the street in there, and I'd like to open it up. Do I have to go through all kinds of,
What we're trying to do is encourage people to do something with their property besides let it sit there and fall apart.
well, I understand that. And I don't think that mine is falling apart,
And,
but it has been used for storage.
and this
And
also.
it's not all junk.
And this also has to do with everybody in this city, everybody in the state, doesn't have to put up with blight next to them. They don't have to look at that building that's falling down and accept it as normal.
Well, I understand that. That's not my point. My point is, if I wanted to open that up as my shop again, what do I have to do? Do I have to?
Well, there is a stipulation in the city code that a dwelling can be used for a second purpose. In other words, somebody that lives in a dwelling can have like a beauty shop in the back part of it or whatever. A dwelling cannot be used for strictly a business. In other words, if you have a house here and you want to just
Well, I
start a
believe
business in
there's-
it, you can't do that.
I believe there is one house near me that is used as a shop.
Well, I don't know which one that is, so.
Pardon? Yeah. I mean, I'm not the only one here that knows about it.
Yeah.
And it has a sign in front of it. And when I moved here, I was asked if I wanted to do my business in my shop. And since being a jeweler, and you have to use torches, and I have my house is fairly original. It's not all messed up. My main house. And I was told that I could have a shop in that building, and when I bought the second one, I was told I could have a shop in that building. So what's changed, and when?
Nothing's changed. I would imagine you probably were given some bad information.
From the city council.
How about Norway's had that was a house, she's
Yeah.
in it.
Who's?
And she did hair salon right out of her house, sitting right there.
Which-
Gore's place, right on the corner right here, right by the fire department. That was a hair salon. That was a house, and it was
Yeah.
a full-blown business.
I can't help what the previous administrations did here as far as enforcing the codes.
Do you
A
believe
lot of people just kind of turn their
variances
head.
Are variances,
I'm just letting you know what's in the ordinances.
are variances allowed? Because there is somebody in town that has a house that is a shop. And they don't live there.
Okay? I would have to know who that is. You can come and talk privately afterwards.
Hmm?
Okay, well,
I'm not sure. if it's
Anyway.
there or shall be there.
so the purpose of this all was to set a fee for the registration. Kinda got carried away here. So, basically, I don't know what the council would like to charge. I don't know if you have an idea of what other cities charge. So, we need to set a fee. That's what the purpose of this was for.
So what are they charging elsewhere?
I don't know of another town that does it.
Well, no, Mobile does.
York City?
No, they charge for their meters and stuff like that. They don't have the vacant house thing.
Well, let's find out what Mobile is charging.
And that may or may not be on their website.
I'll move to the table to the next meeting and get the additional information. Okay.
Do I have a second on that?
It was Rob.
All in favor? All right, nuisance abatements. The nuisance abatement officer, code enforcement officer Dave Christensen, was over again a few weeks ago. Made his tour of the town, took the pictures, highlighted the pictures, and wrote the letters, sent them back to the clerk for distribution. There were quite a number of them that went out. Stack was about this thick. Some were courtesy letters, basically saying, we see this here on your property, can you please take care of it? Others were a second notice that they violated an ordinance, and so Dave is supposed to be coming back over in the next week or so to look and see if anybody's made any progress on that. If not, and likely we will meet with our attorney and see what our next step is. We have a handful of people in town that push back and decide they don't want to do anything at all. That just won't stand, so. Anyway, I would like to, I'll talk to the clerk about that later. Anyway, there was a number, we had some people that complained that their property was on there, but somebody else's that was worse. Didn't get notified, and all I can say to that is Dave is trying to get used to the town and looking to see what is obvious, what sticks out as being very obvious, and then eventually he'll get around to the not so obvious, so we get a lot of these things taken care of. That's all I have on that item. So with that, that concludes our open agenda. We are gonna go into, we have one more item to deal, closed session. So I would like a motion
I got a
to,
quick question. Is he driving around town on his own, or is he being escorted?
who?
Dave, is Dave?
He's here and he has asked people to go with him for familiarization with the town. Who lives here, who lives there, so on and so forth. What's the address here? Because not everybody's address is clear on the side of their house. So,
That should be somebody like you or one of the city guys, though, right? I mean,
Could
there
be
should be
me.
nobody on this council doing that.
could be me or a council member.
You can have that's not, breaking no meeting rules or nothing?
No,
Okay.
because there's,
Not a quorum.
a quorum is 3 council members.
Yep.
Okay, it doesn't include the mayor, doesn't include the clerk, or whatever. If you have 2 council members and the mayor, it's still not a quorum, so it's not, there's nothing.
Okay, I just want,
And I would encourage people to ride along, see what he sees, ask questions. I would like to establish a book that the council members can go and look at, see the pictures and see the detail that he goes to put these things together.
maybe we should just rotate.
What,
Maybe we should just rotate. Like one time he rides with Lana, one time he rides with him.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, so with that, open session, we need to go into closed session, so, we'll have to ask everybody to leave.